What is up, grappling fans? Jordan Kurtz here alongside Kat Paparocki, and we are bringing you the CJJC 29 pre-show breakout. This is brought to you by Mat Rats. Kat, I'm excited to be able to talk these grappling matches that we have going for next Saturday's event. Just real quick, what are your some of your initial 30,000 foot thoughts, and where can people follow you?
Yeah, man. You can follow me at cat_paprocki. I'm excited. I like this grapple bowl. This is our second one, and we are handing out trophies to all of the main card matches. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's another added touch here with the Grapple Bowl event. It seems to always be a pretty good success or a pretty big draw, being that it's the day before the big game out there and lets people get a little bit of that fight energy out a little bit, I
Sure.
guess, in your own sense, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we've got 19 scheduled matches on the card. We've got a mix of some no-gi matchups. We've got some wrestling. We've got a lot of different skill levels that are going to be involved in the process. Why don't we run it down from the top? In the main event, we have a 180-pound no-gi matchup that is going down between Tyler, the Choker Betts, representing Flow State Jiu-Jitsu. He is taking on Artur Bichanov of High Altitude Martial Arts, who just recently got his purple belt after he just so happened to be, the best blue belt in the world. Won IBJJF World Championships out there. A bit of a contrasting styles matchup here with the collegiate wrestler taking on the jiu-jitsu world champion. Kat, how do you see this matchup roll?
Yeah, man. I think it depends how Tyler Betts is able to use the cage and if he's able to use that with his wrestling pressure style. If Arter can start getting out into the open and start using his jiu-jitsu, we'll see what the choker has.
Hey, that's why they go out there and got to make the walk, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Moving along from that, we have a co-main event matchup that is going down in the 145-pound no-gi class. That is Matteo Colazzo taking on the ace, D'Anthony Muniz. D'Anthony has a real wild style where he takes a lot of risks out there in the process of trying to chase finishes and aiming to entertain, trying to put on a show for the crowd always. There's a bit of an age gap as well here in the process. We have to definitely give a shout out to Colazzo for stepping up on the notice to keep this matchup intact. But again, all that to be said, there's a lot of different factors when we're looking at the quote unquote tail of the tape in the matchup that kind of stand off numbers wise. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Always excited for new talent on, so super pumped to see what Colazzo has. The last time that D'Anthony was in the CJJC cage, he was struggling. He was on a slump. Since then, man, he has grown. He's gone on to put on some great performances. So I'm super excited to have him on again.
Yeah, definitely. He's competed all across the map, multiple different types of formats of grappling competition, whether it is in the cage to out there on a stage and a platform, tournament style grappling, competing in the wick style in the pit. There's lots of different things that he's been competing, and there's also something to be said about momentum and frequency of activity there. So this is a potential opportunity for D'Anthony to go out there and continue to add to his highlight reel that he's been having as of late. But at the same time, you've got a tough old dog who's ready to say, "Hey, I'm not going anywhere."
Yeah.
You're going to have to come and earn this.
Yeah.
So I think that brings an interesting element to that matchup there in the co-main event. In the feature matchup, we have another type of grappling discipline that's going to be going down at our Grapple Bowl card. We have a wrestling match in the 165-pound class. Obviously, it's our modified rule set, especially as far as the timeline goes. It's going to be first round 3 minutes. The next two are going to be 2-minute rounds. You have Anthony, the rubber band man Bendy, taking on CJ Chavez of Genesis Training Academy. We've seen Bendy have some crazy entanglements through submission grappling styles, but we all have always known that he's got that wrestling background.
Absolutely.
How does that factor into a matchup here against Chavez, who comes from also another respected camp out there in Genesis?
Man, I think they are both going to be primed and ready to go. I think we are going to see a lot of fast-paced action. I'm excited, man.
I think that it definitely is going to be an interesting, just a switch up as far as rule set to see Benny, where he's been on a couple of grapple game shows. He's been
Absolutely.
multiple times within just our pro style shows with CJJC, and just let's shrink that rule set a little bit more and
Yeah.
let's go with just wrestling here. Following that, we have a matchup between a couple of ladies that's going down in the no-gi realm. You have Laura Kocher of Flow State Jiu-Jitsu, who is taking on Aylin Fletcher of Onyx Jiu-Jitsu. One thing about these Onyx grapplers out there, I just think that as we've seen a variety of them across our cards here, I've had a couple of them involved with some of my other shows like Colorado Combat Club, so on and so forth. There's just a certain level of qualitative, I guess, practicality within their game, or them being just competition ready. They're going to go out there and they're going to show themselves well. You can never have a 100% guarantee, right? But you can definitely have a certain level of quality, I
Yeah.
guess, expected with certain people coming from certain camps. They, you know what, they're coming from here. Well, based off of the precedent of everybody else that they put into competition, you could say that they come from a certain cloth,
Yeah.
cut from a certain cloth.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm always excited for a high-level ladies match. Yeah, Onyx is always great. They always bring a great product. But so does Flow State, and Flow State has 4 competitors on our card. So I can only imagine the energy in the training camp, getting everybody pumped and prepped too. So I think that this match, I think that both ladies are going to know exactly what they want. I think there's not going to be any feel out process, and I do think we are going to get a quick finish.
Now, Kat was telling me who she thought that quick finish is going to be, but she's trying to get political right now, and not say it on camera. What I mean, why don't you just spit it out? Just spit it.
No one. I don't think anybody. I just think that, again, I think that both of these
Putting on her
ladies
PR
are
promoter
gonna come
bullshit hat
super
right now.
prepared and come put it on each other, and I am excited to watch.
I'm allergic to that. Next matchup on the card, we have a gi matchup. So again, we're bringing you a variety of different subsets within the grappling realm here. You have a 165-pound gi matchup that's going down between a couple of purple belts. You have Kyle Cobra Kirk out of Says MMA in Colorado Springs. He's taking on Travis T-Bone Henderson out of Evergreen, Brazilian top team. Again, a couple of guys who have had experience within our cage before.
Yeah.
A couple of experienced grapplers as a whole collectively. You know, being that they're up within that purple belt ranks, I think you're going to see a certain amount of chess going on
Absolutely.
with the gi. You know, the gi tends to slow things down a little bit as opposed to some of the, say, the no gi matchups, especially in the undercard where they're still playing a little bit more checkers than chess in the process.
Yeah.
But I think it adds just a nice little change of pace on our card.
I do want to let Kyle and Travis know that I would like a really cool judo throw, though, with like a full gi, full toss, something sweet. So, all right, guys.
You're just asking a whole lot
That's
over
what
there.
I
You're
want
making
from
predictions
you.
off camera that you're saving not to have on
I'm
the mic.
talking shit
You're
about
talking-
people.
yeah,
I'm
What are we
hyping others
doing
up.
here? What are we doing here? Come on.
It's the
now.
grapple bowl, baby.
She's bringing that Royal Rumble energy right now. And rounding off the main card here for our Grapple Bowl show, we have a 175-pound no-gi matchup that is going down between Zeke Alidez taking on Talami Scott. Now, this is kind of a return, if you will, for Alidez in the process.
Yes.
He's had a little bit of time away from competition, dealing with some injuries and recovering and getting himself back into competition in shape. A lot of experience out there. I mean,
Absolutely.
a lifetime of combat sports comes from a gym family, comes from a fight family. His brothers are active, his cousins are active. How do you see just all of that experience from, again, he's made the walk before on many different occasions. This is kind of the closest thing that you get to simulating that fight walk. What do you think as he, is in preparation for Scott within this matchup?
Yeah, man. I think for Zeke, this is just getting some of those nerves out, getting that camp going back, um, getting his weight under control. I'm excited for him. I think that this is a great way for him to truly start building momentum and getting back into the MMA cage where he really wants to be. I know though that Scott has some MMA experience too, and he's not just gonna say, "Oh, like I'm afraid of you and your experience." So I'm excited to also see how Scott can use his experience and his comfortability in a cage.
Certainly.
Oh,
I think that's going to be a great matchup to start us off there on the main card. That wraps up the main card portion of our CJJC 29 pre-show breakout for our annual Grapple Bowl card here. But Kat, if we were to take a look at a couple of matchups here from each of our liking that's on that undercard, what is a matchup that really kind of sticks out to you, and what is one that you say people should have their eyes on?
yeah. So the Porter Chafe out of Flow State is going to be taking on Jesse Fabiano out of New Era. Man, Jesse Fabiano is a problem. He hasn't found somebody yet who can handle him. And Porter said, I can. Cool. So I think that's going to be a great match. I think these are two very experienced, high-paced, young up-and-comers. So I like that one.
Yeah, that's a tremendous matchup that we have there against two just ridiculously skilled and talented youngsters in the process too. Both
Absolutely.
very young, both still have such a high ceiling before they're anywhere near their peak as far as what they're going to be able to accomplish out there.
Absolutely.
But just as you mentioned, Jesse Fabiano, that kid is slick. But
He's slick.
Porter's had some great outings and has had some good showings for us as well. But again, when we start talking about what is that expectation when you get someone who comes from a certain particular camp,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what Professor Matt Sierra has established over there at New Era as well, being that Fabiano comes from under him and has had such a wide degree of competition experience already at such a young age. That means that there's a certain credibility that goes behind that, right?
Absolutely.
For as much as he's been thrown out there. But I also got to respect Chafe on the process, because when you see somebody who's just basically running the table out there with a lot of people, then you're willing to go out and say, hey, like, put my name in the hat. Let's run it.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of respect that has to go into that decision, too, as well.
Yeah. Who's your pick? Who do
So,
you got?
For my pick, I think that there's going to be an interesting matchup that is going down earlier on the prelims. It's going to be the fifth scheduled bout of the day. It's a 150-pound no-gi matchup. This is going down between Jonathan Rodriguez of AMAG, who he competed on one of our Grapple Games cards.
Yes, he did.
And he's going to be taking on George Smiley Venzer, who comes out of Factory X. He's a regular, normal training partner of mine all the time, so got to show him some love and give him a shout out there.
It's a bromance for sure.
Well, you a little bit of bro.
There's a
You're my
bromance
boy,
going
dog.
on.
But,
a little bit of love.
But yeah, I see how hard George works in the gym.
Absolutely.
I know what he's made of in that sense. We get to beat the hell out of each other on a regular basis and smile in the process. And I know that he's hungry for a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that in his last matchup, all due respect to Ben Gerson, I still think that George won that.
Sure.
I can understand that it was a very close and a tight matchup, that there wasn't maybe enough from either. Obviously, there was enough done by Ben to get the decision from our judge and Paul, but I thought that he had some very bright moments that he was able to work from. But still, he's trying to figure out who he is as a competitor.
Absolutely.
There's certain things where he's just a little bit more free flowing and not thinking so much when he's in the gym,
Yeah.
and you get to see a little bit more of that attack side come out. Whereas it's all a part of the competition experience, right? Sometimes guys get a little bit of a tight beehole when they get out there and the lights are on, and you're like, oh shit, what do I
Oh
do now?
no. Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
everything kind of reverts, right? Like the way
Yeah.
that I learned in terms of like what your actual competition competency is as far as attacks or tactics to get toward what you do well, you got to think of your skill set as like a funnel in a sense.
Okay.
So what you do in the training, or what just from like a drilling basis, you start the funnel out wide.
Yep.
And then as you get to maybe a live round or a live drilling sequence, it starts to concave in, and then the more that you get to a higher degree of competition, or the faster the pace, and your exertion, your stamina, all of those things start factoring in, all the stuff that goes into competing, the adrenaline, the dump, the somebody else squeezing, somebody else going hard right back at you, that maybe not necessarily being that gym pace. Well, all of your attributes start to funnel themselves down into a much smaller cone than what your large funnel is, what you would be able to do when the stakes maybe aren't so high.
Absolutely.
So, all of us as martial artists, competitors, whatever you want to call us, our goal is to be able to, in our most tired moments or in our worst of times, to be able to have the bottom of that funnel expanded as widely as possible, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the only way that you get there is through time, is
Yes.
through reps, is through going through all of those hard rounds, those long days that you have in the gym. Of some days you're the nail, you're not going to be the hammer all the time,
Yeah.
but being able to figure out how to work yourself through those moments
Yeah.
is what is ultimately going to expand that funnel at the bottom to where you have more attributes, tactics, and tools to be able to use the higher that you grow within the scale of competition.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think that he's just got to figure out how to manage himself a little bit better in terms of maybe some exertion, or maybe not thinking like, okay, like, I mean, because he is built like a little pit bull, like, okay, I don't need to just grab and squeeze so tight all the time. Let's flow. Let's figure out what is he giving me and what can I take in this moment, like you would in an actual gym scenario,
Absolutely.
as opposed to like, oh, everything's going like, like
Yes.
we're supercharged like Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior back in an '80s promo. You know what
Sure.
I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's my thought. And you do see though a lot of the super fast pace, not always the most tactical matches on the undercard, and
Yeah.
it's just because some of them they still don't know what they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's just ironing out how you get warmed up, how you eat, how you get your mind set. If you can hear your coaches, sometimes you panic because all eyes are on you. Yeah. So ironing that all out here is perfect. I've never had a competition where I didn't show up 100, but I'm sure that happens to others.
Yeah, like I said, you just got to figure out how to manage those smiles and cries.
100%. Yeah.
We can't all be Cat Paparazzi over here, all just whistling
Perfect in
Dixie.
training and competition. Ask my coach. I always follow the game plan.
I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure there's no interesting discussions in the van ride home. I'm sure there's never any of those awkward moments out there, ladies and gentlemen.
Never.
But that wraps us up here for our CJJC 29 annual Grapple Bowl breakout, brought to you by Matt Rats. I'm Jordan Kurtz. You can give me a follow along online at Comments from the Peanut Gallery on Instagram and on Threads, and on TikTok. Follow me at the Peanut Gallery MMA. Kat, where can people follow you one more time?
Cat_Paparaki.
Now, before we sign off officially here, why don't you give them a little bit more of the itinerary for the weekend? Where are we doing weigh-ins?
Yeah.
Where are we? What is the venue? So on and so forth. What are we looking at?
Absolutely. All right, guys. So Friday, December 6th, we will be doing live weigh-ins and face-off at the Ugly Dog Sports Cafe. Come on down, have some food, hang out, and enjoy. On Saturday, that is Grapple Bowl Day, Saturday, February 7th, down at the Stampede in Aurora. The doors will be opening at noon. We will get started with our first matches at 12:30. So come on out.
Love to hear all that information there. You have it all right there for you folks. That is the itinerary for the weekend. For the love of God, if you are on the card, please make weight. We had multiple people on the last one who missed, which that is disappointing for everybody
Absolutely.
involved. But not to go bring some negative light, just hopefully throwing that out there just to have a last hammer down.
Absolutely.
Do the hard work, make the weight. You signed a contract. That's exactly what you aim to do in terms of competition. Let's go out there and let's all do our jobs in the process. I can't wait to see you guys all out there for our Grapple Bowl show. This wraps us up for the CJJC 29 annual Grapple Bowl breakout show brought to you by Matt Rat.